Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, she, he, and this is literally graphic. And today we are looking at Black Panther by Christopher Priest, the complete collection, volume 3, which I had previously assumed I would have to skip because it wasn't showing up in my library searches, and only the 4th volume was on Hoopla. Then I remembered that I had read the previous volume in Libby, which has a much less usable interface compared to Hoopla, and so I managed to find it after all. Yay. Well, I have already highlighted Ashley of Bookish Realm and Bree of Locked Booktition. I thought today I would highlight their recently launched The Realm of Comics book club. Link in the descriptions to their schedule for 2022. Every month they are going to be reading a comic or two and then come together to discuss it in a live. So far, they have covered Bitterroot Volume 1 to 3, which I'll be watching as soon as I catch up on the series. I am currently planning on trying to keep up with this project myself and would highly recommend all y'all to also look it up. This volume was a bit of a mixed bag and included issues from Black Panther 1998, issues 36 to 49 and 57 to 58, Incredible Hulk 2000, issue 33, Thor 1986, issue 370, and material from Marvel Double Shot 2. Content notes for Character Death, Fridging, Crucifixion, Essay, Racial Caricatures, and Cartoon Violence. There's a lot of different plots going on. First, we had the once and future king that is set 25 years in the future, where the now self-isolating oldster T'Challa's adult children are now actors in a web of violence that will decide who is in charge of Wakanda. There's a lot of complaining about younger generations, and we return to these concerns of an aging superhero later when T'Challa must face off with his nemesis, mortality. Then in Return of the Dragon, T'Challa and Everett K. Ross make up, keep the Black Dragon down, knock sense into Iron Fist, and defeat Nightshade. Enemy of the State 2 is a 4-part series that follows a mysterious murder and guest stars Wolverine and Iron Man, among many others. I think this is the point where so-called Canada comes into play with an Anishinaabe tribe and Wakanda ceding an island from the colonizer state. The Prime Minister had also been replaced by T'Challa's adopted white older brother, of course. As we move into the next plot arc, King Solomon's brass frogs transport all of our friends back in time to 1875, gun-toting Aberdeen, Texas, which flows right into the 1986 Thor issue 370, Easy Money. We then skip over Black Panther, Black and White, in favor of a 2-part story, Black Panther Coming to America. According to Comic Vine, this story was drawn by Wolverine Art Contest winner Ryan Bodenheim, and despite the collection's name, was written by one J. Torres. In contrast, the Incredible Hulk one-shot is written by Christopher Priest and covers a brief crossing of paths between Hulk and Queen Divine Justice. Similarly, this collection also includes a Dr. Doom one-shot, also written by Priest, accompanied by a much more painterly art style. I will not be trying to list everyone involved. Needless to say, Marvel Comics are a group project, and because of the montage of stories included, each did feel pretty different. Overall, however, this comic really felt pretty dated and of the 90s superhero variety, which it mostly is, so fair. This is one of my least favorite art styles, though, and a big reason I didn't read comics as a kid. Notable exceptions were the previously mentioned Dr. Doom short, and it felt like they had more hatching in their time back in 1875 Aberdeen, Texas. Writing-wise, it also felt pretty standard for the time and publisher. There are some political references, but everything is obfuscated in neoliberal politics. That's a change. Possibly the most satisfying part of this read, though, because one of the key things that set me on this read through is because when I started reading Black Panther comics pre-movie, everyone claimed that the priest's run was not political. Obviously, this is a lie, and I don't really need to read 4 volumes that come in at over 400 pages each to know that this was a lie, but what can I say? It is interesting to follow specific characters through time, and COVID is making me a completionist. Keywords that came to mind reading this collection: legacy, betrayal, family, muscles, action, international conflict, revolution, and a big-ass dragon. Overall, this was definitely one of those collections where I consistently hoped for fewer female characters because they were almost universally overly sexualized. Most of these women were pretty new to me, so I'm sure some of them were more or less comfortable with this treatment, which could make a difference, but it also felt impossible to tell through these snapshots as none of them were really the focus of the story either. T'Challa's daughter also gets fridged, and apparently Queen Divine Justice only weighs 96 pounds. Which seemed a tad bit unrealistic. In contrast, at the very worst, we had huge, hulking, muscly dudes, Black Panther included, who are totally unrealistic and don't seem to be particularly sexually appealing to anyone, although some claim this is the same as making all the ladies super sexy and make cishet dudes feel bad about themselves. Sexuality was pretty heteronormative, lots of resentful old adult children, and at least one woman using her sexuality for evil. Race is obviously also pretty dated, given progress is very uneven, and I'm not the be-all end-all on this topic, but I feel like Black Panther has come a long way in almost every way, from skin tones to hair textures to so many characters feeling like caricatures. Not great. Class and ability/disability are both treated in similar ways following a super able-bodied monarch. Everything comes pretty easy. People just keep conspiring against T'Challa. Bye y'all, keep reading and organize to end capitalist oppression. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.